Sadhya sadhana brahma also, where the process is not understood properly. How actually, somebody may say, oh, Rag Marg is the only way, or somebody may say only sadhana bhakti is the only way. Like that, there are different confusions of what is sadhana, what is sadhya, what you should ultimately attain. Somebody may be talking about the ultimate goal is, to go to Brahmaloka, then go to Vaikuntha. Someone may say, no, Goloka Vrindavan only is the only aim. So like that, there are so many confusions, not understanding, what to accept. Although in spite of, what the Vaishnava Acharyas and the founder Acharya has given us. So these things, these are okay. These are all minor anarthas. So the whole process of, getting rid of these anarthas takes a very long time. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he mentions about the gradual cessation of these anarthas over a very long period of time. He classifies all these anarthas, in 5 stages. So I'll not tell about the technical name, but we should understand there are like 5 stages within getting rid of the anarthas also. The first is partially getting rid of the anarthas. Then the second stage is pervasive. And then the third is almost complete. The fourth is complete. And the fifth is absolute. So I don't know the technical terms, but these are the 5 stages. So the first stage, which is the partial cessation of anarthas, this happens in sadhu sangha, shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya. And only 15% of the anarthas are removed. Basically, it means 1 or 2 anarthas are actually removed. The remaining 85% of the anarthas are still there in the heart, up to the stage of bhajana kriya. But between bhajana kriya and nishtha, there is this big mountain of anartha nivritti. So anartha nivritti takes a very long time. So the passage from 15% reduction of the anarthas all the way till 75% happens in this stage of anartha nivritti. And in the stage of nishtha, it is said that 75% of our anarthas are gone, and we still have 25% of the influence of Maya. Maya is still there. So the influence of Maya is there even after we have become very steady in devotional service. And then after that, from Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, all the way till Bhava, this 75% of Anartha reaches 95%. And we still have the influence of 5% of Maya on the Jiva. So all the way till Bhava stage, there is the influence of Maya, up to 5%. And then it is said that this stage of Bhava is actually considered as the almost complete stage. The bhajana kriya stage is considered as, partial, because only 1 or 2 anarthas are removed. And then in the nishtha stage, it is considered as all pervasive removal of all the anarthas, because most of the anarthas are removed, but still there are remnants of 25%. But in the bhava stage also, we have 95% removed, but still, 5% is still lingering. And it is said that even in the prema stage, the devotee is almost, 99.999% of all his aparadhs and all his anarthas are completely removed. But yet, there is still a 0.01% of chances of influence of Maya. Although it may not result in a devotee's falling or anything like that, but that certain element of influence of Maya is there. It is said only when somebody is In the spiritual world, there is no influence of Maya. That's completely, 100. That is called as the absolute stage of the cessation of all the anarthas and aparad. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also, further classifies, very similar to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He also classifies these four different broad categories of the anarthas. He says, Sukrutot anarthas, Dushkrutot anarthas, Aparadot anarthas, and Bhaktiot anarthas. So the influence of Sukriti is the propensity to enjoy the results. Dushkruti is propensity to commit further sinful activities and harbor envy, hatred, and other vices. And there is the Bhaktiot anartha, which is because of practicing of bhakti, there are so many weeds, devotees may get wealth, they may get fame, name, prestige, and so many things like that. And finally, the aparadothanarthas. So those are also related to Vaishnava aparad, Nama aparad, Seva aparad, Jiva aparad, all of that. So it is not easy to get rid. It looks like a very uphill task, because we are seeing how even, through this entire process of even after overcoming anartha nivritti, it is seems to be like a long process. It is said that, as Jiva Goswami says, on an average, if a jiva goes on a normal pace, it takes 30-35 lifetimes to cross over all of this. But as Srila Prabhupada said, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, in one lifetime also it is possible to overcome it. It depends on the intensity of our bhakti, how much we are surrendered. So we all, definitely, I'm sure we all know how to gauge how much we are surrendered and how much we are practicing. So I want to go through, the demons killed by Krishna and Balarama and the various anarthas that they represent. The first is Putana, and the demon Putana is representing a deceitful guru who is teaching enjoyment and salvation. So basically, there are so many, sadhus, crafty people who teach something else as the ultimate goal. Instead of attaining the lotus feet of Krishna, instead of attaining bhakti, they may be teaching something about salvation in the name of bhakti. They may be teaching shelter in the Swarga, attaining the heavenly planets as the goal. For that matter, it also includes devotees also who are not preaching the actual goal, that is pure devotional service. They may be diluting in their preaching and telling something else, not directly telling, attaining the lotus feet of Krishna or pure devotional service as the actual goal. So that is the anartha. So it actually represents both the so-called non-devotee guru, or including devotees who are representing themselves as spiritual masters or preaching leaders or whatever. So this anartha of deceitful teaching of enjoyment and salvation is Putana. This propensity will be there. Generally, when do we get this propensity? This propensity comes when I am not able to follow. When I am not able to follow what is being taught, it becomes too difficult. So now how do I portray that? I'll make sure that everybody also follows up to what I can follow, not more than that. That is what is this Anartha. This is how it is represented. The second is Shakatasura. Shakatasura is representing the card demon. So this represents all the old and the new bad habits that we have. It also includes lethargy, laziness, dullness, all of that. So bad habits, sleeping late in the night, and eating late in the night, not really worried about morning sadhana program is just one example. So of course, maybe Janmashtami is an exception for some of them. So festivals it is okay, but generally speaking, our habits which are not conducive to devotional service, those have to be given up. We should be eager to give up, any work or job that is unfavorable to Krishna consciousness, or which is affecting our health, or which is affecting our spiritual health. So that has to be given up. So we should be eager to, make sure that we adjust our life in such a way that we sleep early or eat early, or we make sure that we wake up in the Brahma Muhurta. We make our life adjusted in such a way that we are able to practice sadhana bhakti properly. So this kicking of the Shakatasura represents the kicking away of all the bad habits, the dullness, the laziness that is there in our life, to practice bhakti properly. So there could be various reasons for laziness or dullness. It is called as laya. So the word pralaya also comes from that. So laya is laziness. Basically it is tamasic, it is ignorance. So to get rid of it, we have to be alert. I was very much inspired when His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, in one of his lectures, he had told the way they were practicing sadhana bhakti during his youth. So it is said that, they were waking up very early, and services, and then Mangalarati, chanting. And then in the Guru Puja, he mentioned that, when the Guru Puja was happening, he was sleeping even when he was standing and, waving his body like this. So that was the level at which, they had practiced austerities. So that way, we may have the tendency to feel lazy, but it will automatically, eventually it will go away when the taste and when the interest increases. Like if somebody has an inclination or liking or love towards to do something, then it is very easy for him to be awake all the time, the whole night also. Like if somebody likes to watch movie, he will never feel the pain. He can sit the whole night, he can watch, next day also he can sit, he can watch all the movies, because he has a natural taste for it. The same thing happens in bhakti. When natural taste emerges, then this laziness is automatically gone. But we are unable to reach there because we have all of these anarthas. The third one is the Trinavarta demon killed by Krishna. So Trinavarta represents the pride of scholarship, learning, false arguments, associating with dry logicians. So this is the anartha which is coming because of knowledge, because of pride. And also these people are the proponents of something called as diabolical opinions. Diabolical opinions means, some extreme opinions. They may be practicing bhakti, but they may be supporters of abortion or homosexuality or women's liberation, so many things like that, different. So, holding on to something which is not as per Shastra, but still practicing bhakti. So, and apart from that, also the pride because of scholarship and learning, and basically arguing for the sake of arguing, not to prove the point of argument, but to prove that I'm superior, I'm knowledgeable, something like that. So that is the attitude of this anartha, the pride which comes because of knowledge. So there is Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shribhi. So pride because of knowledge. There is also, next one is the deliverance of Yamal Arjuna trees. And this represents the pride because of Aishwarya, because of opulence. So Nalakuver and Manigriva, so they had this pride and arrogance because of being the sons of Kuvera, and eventually any pride related to opulence leads to wine, women, wealth. Yeah, of course, from wealth it is wine and women. So that is how they were engaging in. And even if somebody is not indulging in wine and women, they are still, a victim of the pride. So they have this dhana durmadanda. So they are blinded. Their dhana durmadanda is nothing but they are blinded or intoxicated by the opulence that they have. So in the chapter of Indra and Brihaspati also, there it comes. Dabra buddhena aishwarya mattena. So where because of the opulence, Indra, he lost his sense and he became intoxicated. Aishwarya Matyana. He became intoxicated by the pride that, everybody is, respecting me so much. So it's okay, if I don't have to pay obeisances if the spiritual master, comes. So generally that happens, when we are habituated, when we are very much uh, attached, or when we are habituated to getting too much respect, and if that respect is taken away even once, the person becomes very disturbed. Like said, every day you are the first person to get the arti, and suddenly one day you are present there, but nobody notices you. Nobody even comes to you. Finally, maybe some devotee comes. Oh, Prabhu, I forgot. Last. It is, of course, a humble devotee doesn't feel anything. But somebody who's a victim of pride, then, he becomes disturbed. How this fellow did not notice me. So he caused an embarrassment to me in front of so many others. He'll see a fault. He's unable to, see the hand of the Lord in rectifying his anartha. So there are two ways you can see, the Lord's hand in purifying us, and the other is in finding a fault in others. So that way. So this pride of opulence, or pride of having, being intoxicated because of position, all of this is represented by, the Yamala Arjuna trees. So these trees were delivered. Even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord says, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, Dinera adhikadaya kore Bhagavan, kulina pandita dhanir bada bhiman. So those who are meek and humble, the mercy of the Lord is very much automatic. But kulina, somebody who is proud of his family, his position or birth, pandita, who is learned, or somebody who is rich, dhanir, bada abhiman, they have the pride. So they are victims of these three: Janma, Aishwarya, Shrutha. They always cause pride. I have not seen any pride caused because of Shri, beauty. Probably, maybe, someone who has beauty, they may have. But generally speaking, these three are, they cause, pride. So Yamala Arjuna tree is representing the pride and arrogance which is arising from aristocratic birth, wealth, and it results in debauchery, drinking, offensive speech, so all of that. The next is Vatsasura. The Vatsasura is representing all the bad acts done out of very childish greediness, very childish, mischievousness or greediness. Something like, you're greedy for any position, uh, anything, as a preacher or a temple president or whatever, and or you may be even attached to something, maybe a gulab jamun also, but if you're not able to get it, then, you are upset, in front of thousands of devotees, everybody gets a gulab jamun. But that devotee with whom I had a problem, he didn't put the jamun. So I think he has deliberately done it. Maybe he has something against me, something like that. The mind cooks up something for us. So that way, it is childish greediness to enjoy or hold on to something. So this is also an anartha. So one should be situated in a completely satisfied situation to overcome this. And the next is Aghasura. So Aghasura is representing the sinful tendency of committing violence and harassment, hatred, envy towards devotees. This is very clear. It is understood. It does not need much explanation. We all know how harmful it is. There are 6 types of these Vaishnava parads. Hanti, Nindati, Vaidveshti, Vaishnavanam, Nabhinandati, Krudyate, Yati no Harsham, Vaishnave, Patanani Shat. So all these 6 ways of offending a Vaishnava results in a person falling down or even going to hell also. So Hanti, killing, Nindati, offending, blaspheming, insulting in front of others. Dveshti, envying a Vaishnava or his position. Vaishnavanam na abhinandati, not feeling happy on seeing a Vaishnava. You're seeing somebody, you become morose. It is said it is aparad. So we'll have to gauge, what we are doing, how we are reacting. Na abhinandati. Anti nindati vaidveshti vaishnavanam nabi. Krudhyate, becoming angry. Yati no harsham. Nabhinandati is actually glorifying, praising also. And no harsham, not feeling happy, is not feeling happiness on seeing the Vaishnava. So like that, these 6 anarthas are there. And, that is represented by Aghasura. So long, if we are in a position of what do you calling spade a spade, it is okay. Being straightforward is like calling spade as a spade. But there is a next level which is fault finding. Although a devotee may have good qualities, but we are only able to see bad qualities. So that is the first level of aparad. But beyond that is blasphemy. So blasphemy is such that, although, there is no reason to envy, because the envy, the hatred is already there in the heart, and the devotee may not even have the bad qualities. He has all good qualities, but still you see something bad in that and you take action. You try to insult, blaspheme, you malign his name, so many things like that. So like that, fault finding, blasphemy, and calling spade a spade. So these are like different levels. Next is the Brahmavir Mohanlila, where Brahma was completely bewildered, and this is represented by the anartha of skepticism. Skepticism means doubting the potency of the Supreme Lord, because the influence of karma and jnana is more. And also it represents giving a lot of priority to awe and reverence than the sweetness of the Supreme Lord. The example comes in this Brahmavir Mohanlila that it is impossible for the Supreme Lord to do this and eat from the mouth of his devotee. Not possible, because the Lord accepts only when it is properly with cleanliness of mind, body, and consciousness. It is offered in the yagya. That is when the Lord accepts. This is like imposing awe and reverence on the Lord and not accepting his sweetness. This is one example. So that is also an anartha. Of course, it is not a major anartha like some aparad, but this is an anartha. Not considering and understanding the sweetness of the Lord. The Lord can do anything. So that way Brahmavir Mohanlila represents that. The next is Dhenukasura. Dhenukasura is represented by the anartha of not having that knowledge of the soul through gross materialistic intelligence. Not having proper spiritual knowledge, spiritual identity, not understanding the difference between the Lord's holy name and the Lord. So basically spiritual dullness, but materially active. Of course, the donkey represents that only, where we are very, very hardworking in attaining goals of temporary asat material body, but when it comes to spiritual topics, the mind becomes dull. So this is represented by Dhenukasura. And one difference between the demons killed by Krishna and Balaram is that in case of Krishna, jiva or a devotee can humbly pray and cry at the lotus feet of the Lord continuously, and the Lord removes the anartha. But it is said those anarthas which are killed by Balram, those demons which are killed by Balram, represent those anarthas which we have to endeavor to remove. That is what is mentioned. The next is Kalya. Kalya and Aghasura represent the same anarthas more or less. Kalya is representing maliciousness, doing wrong things, harmful things to others, crookedness, envy. So they take pleasure in insulting others. So Kalya was like that. So he was spewing out poison. So the poison in the heart is expressed externally by hurting, insulting others. So it is a demoniac quality. It is, even harsh speech is also, as it is said, it is called as parushyam. Yeah. So parushya also is a demoniac quality. It is represented by this demon Kalya. And the next is the forest fire. Although it is not mentioned in Bhagavatam that forest fire is a demon, but some consider that this forest fire was actually a demon who came in the form of a fire. He was a friend of Kalya or Aghasura, somebody. So he was a demon who came in the form of fire to consume Krishna and the group of friends. So this forest fire represents the anartha of fighting against the opinion of others, hatred towards other communities, disregard for religious practice of others, and battles and conflicts. Basically, they are fighters. They like to fight. They like to disprove others, whatever it may be. It could be philosophy, or it could be uh, some form, but it is based on envy and hatred only. Just like, some devotees may preach about Ritvikism based on Srila Prabhupada's teachings only. So they want to prove a point. No, this is what our Acharya have told. Yes, there is a lot of things that we can do. We can focus on devotional service. But all energy, all time, everything is put into, deeply studying and finding out those out of context statements to prove a point. Because there something in the heart, some envy, some hatred, some point to be proved. So they want a reason to argue. So actually all devotees are having different inclinations to practice devotional service, and Srila Prabhupada has given thousands of services which can be accomplished by the mercy of Lord and Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters. But sometimes devotees see that, this is the only priority. That is not a priority. Sometimes, they say, Srila Prabhupada said, only focus on Harinam. That is the only thing. Other things are all bogus. Or some may say, book distribution is the only thing. Srila Prabhupada said that if you want to please me, distribute my books. Apart from book distribution, you do anything else, it is all bogus. You are just wasting time, you are displeasing Prabhupada. Or someone may say, Varnashrama, 50% of our work is incomplete. So we are not focused. Of course, there is some element of truth in everything. But discrediting other services which have been given by Srila Prabhupada and giving priority or stating that only this particular seva is the topmost, highest, most important. So, for the sake of argument, just because, they have some inclination. So that is wrong. So that is being represented here by this, the forest fire, where the propensity to fight, the propensity to engage in verbal duel is actually not appreciated. Mostly if it is on the platform of envy and hatred. We see in other sampradayas also there are differences, but they are generally not on the basis of envy or hatred. Like in Sri Vaishnavas, we see there are two groups, the Vadakalais and the Tenkalais. So the Tenkalais, they are proponents of their previous acharyas. That is, there was Pilla Lokacharya, and then there was also this Manval Mahamuni. So they were like two acharyas who were proponents of certain small minor differences. And there are these the other group called as the Vadakalais, who are represented by the Acharya called as Vedanta Desikar. So they had these minor differences. Like one of the differences is that it is only by the mercy of Narayana that a jiva can be liberated. This is the argument of the Tenkalais. And the Vadakalais say, no, yes, it is definitely true that only by the mercy of Lord Narayana it is possible to get liberated. But the endeavor of the jiva also is needed to overcome the anarthas, and then the mercy of Lord Narayana comes, and then the jiva is liberated. So very minor difference. So in both the cases, Lord Narayana's mercy is there. But one say, no matter how much endeavor a jiva may do, he may go on, working hard in sadhana, he may be endeavoring a lot in sadhana, but without Krishna's mercy, it is not possible for him to be liberated, which is also true. But a slight difference is, the other group says, no, the endeavor also is important. Only when you endeavor, then the mercy comes. If you don't endeavor, what is the reason for the Lord to give his mercy? So it is not so much, um, based on envy or hatred, but very minor, philosophical difference. Or they have another difference, like Lakshmi Devi, she is the only one who can, Lakshmi is the only, Lakshmi has the same potency as Lord Narayana to liberate a jiva. She has the same potency of giving mercy to the jiva to liberate him. This is what the Tenkalais say, and the Vadakalais say that no, it is true that Lakshmi's mercy is needed. Without Lakshmi's mercy, we cannot get Narayana's mercy, just like what we follow. But it is not that Lakshmi has the same potency of giving mercy as Lord Narayana, but she is the means through which we get the mercy of Lord Narayana. Something like that, very minor difference. And there's another difference where there are many like this, they have a whole list of some 30, 40 differences. There's another difference where the Tenkalais, they actually, they are proponents of this Divya Prabandham, which is nothing but the Tamil Vedas. And they give a lot of stress on it because it is non-different from the conclusions of the scriptures, just like how Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Narottam Das Thakur gave us. But the group of Vedanta Desikars, the Vadakalais, they say that it is okay. We are not denying the fact that, Divya Prabandham is the authority and the conclusion of the Vedas, but still, Vedas are Vedas. Vedas are the Shruti Praman. So they are the Shabda Brahman. So that is the authority. So that is why, this group, they always quote from the Vedas, from the Shastras, basically Sanskrit verses. Whereas the other group, they will quote their references, their authority, everything based on the Tamil language, which is the Divya Prabandham. So that is how, all these minor differences are there. And some differences in their pranam mantras also, like that. They are upset with each other and then, they broke. This happened just 400, 500 years since. But all their differences is more or less, minor differences, not really on a platform of envy and hatred. Because if there is envy and hatred, there is no question of practicing bhakti. There is no question of becoming a devotee or a Sri Vaishnava or something like that. That is not possible. But this Anartha is talking about finding excuses, reasons, conclusions based on what I want, what I have, the hatred or envy that I have. The next is Pralambasura. Pralambasura is the demon killed by Balaram, and he represents the anartha of both gross sex and subtle sex. Gross sex we all know. Subtle sex is represented by Puja Labha Pratishta. So when we are addicted to this, then it becomes difficult for a person to progress in bhakti. Interestingly, because it is killed by Balaram, it means these are the anarthas which have to be endeavored by the jiva to remove them. And then the next is the Yagnik Brahmanas. So the Yagnik Brahmanas represent the pride arising out of high birth. The pride arising out of opulence was represented by Yamal, Arjuna trees. Then the pride out of knowledge or learning of philosophy was represented by Trinavarta. The pride which is represented by high birth, high parentage, this Brahmana, this kul, that is represented by the Yagnik Brahmanas. So that was the reason how they ignored Lord Krishna and his friends. So this anartha has to be removed if we want to progress ahead. And the stopping of the Indra Yagya is represented by the anartha of thinking I am the supreme and everybody should worship me. Basically, it also rejects demigod worship. So, worshipping the demigods and at the same time worshipping Lord Krishna, they don't go together. We can definitely, pray to the demigods to attain Krishna Bhakti, but we cannot simultaneously worship the demigods and also Krishna, because it becomes an anartha, because we are equating them on the same platform. So, yastu narayanam devam brahmarudradi devatai samatvena viksheta sapashandi bhavedruvam. So we cannot equate all the demigods and the Supreme Lord. Is it okay? Another 5-10 minutes? And then there is the Nanda Maharaj, who was released from Varuna. So that is represented by the anartha of thinking that spiritual life will be enhanced by intoxication. So this was very much prevalent when Srila Prabhupada went to the West. Then next is Shankarchoda. Shankarchoda is representing the greed for name, fame, and that morbid desire to associate with the opposite sex. So, if you see the anartha of Shankarchoda, it is very similar to Pralambasura. So, Pralambasura also represents name, fame, and morbid desire for female association. Then there is Vidyadhara. Vidyadhara is that snake who had swallowed Nanda Maharaj. So this Vidyadhara is representing the Mayavadis who completely consume bhakti. So it is told that we should reject the association of Mayavadis. Mayavada bhasha shunile hoy sarvanash. Mayavadi Krishnera aparadi. So we have to make sure that we do not associate with the Mayavadis. We have a very famous pastime of Advaitha Acharya when he was reading from Yoga Vashishta. He was swinging on the swing and taking pleasure in laughing. It was completely a fun pastime, just to incite the anger of Lord Chaitanya. And Haridas Thakur also was supporting Advaita Acharya, laughing whatever he was telling. They both were enjoying, and Mahaprabhu was burning out of anger as a pastime again. And then he comes, he beats up Advaita Acharya. So this is representing the mood of the Supreme Lord, how he will never tolerate any impersonalism. He doesn't tolerate impersonalism philosophy. So he proved it through this point, this pastime, through his devotees. And also there's a pastime of Mukunda, where he was associating with some Mayavadis, and the Lord said, I don't want to see him. And all the devotees pleaded, and then finally the Lord said, okay, after 10 million lifetimes, that is when Mukunda became happy. So this shows how Lord is setting an example that we should avoid them, because they are so bewildering that sometimes they will talk all bhakti tattva, and finally they will prove the point that when you are accepting all this bhakti tattva, then what is the problem in impersonalism? So like that they'll convince us, and we will feel, yeah, true. After all, it is true. That is how we fall prey to it. Then Arishtasura is representing the anartha of pride arising from deceitful religion. Coming to ISKCON temple, practicing something, doing something else, doing maybe some Sudarshan Kriya or some inner engineering or something like that. So the deceitful religion is represented by Arishtasura. Keshi, I'll go a little faster. Keshi is representing the Anartha of I am a great devotee and a great preceptor. So even somebody is in a very big position, in the position of a spiritual master also, if this pride comes that I am the greatest and everybody surrender and everybody respects me, everybody listens to me, then that becomes an anartha in a person's fall. One of the most prominent examples is that of Rupa Kaviraj, where he was in the position of spiritual master, and then there was this Mataji, Krishna Thakurani, and then or somebody else, I don't remember, and then she was chanting, hearing Bhagavatam, and then he got offended. He said, what is this nonsense? Either you hear or you chant. But she was very elevated that she could do both, chant and also hear. So, and from that offense, he completely deviated. He started speaking Mayavad philosophy, and he was, then the spiritual master at that time, there was Krishna Thakurani. So the lady was somebody else. So she pulled, the Kanti Mala and, completely ostracized him because he was completely deviant. And finally, it is said that he got a ghostly body. So he got trapped into the Preta Yoni. So that way, that aparad, the pride of being, I am the greatest devotee and then everybody listens to me, results in this particular anartha. So very scary, even to hear this. So, and Vyomasura also represents the association of cheating devotees, just like Bakasura. Bakasura is representing the anartha of cunningness. Baka is like the crane, it opens one eye and it is like in a meditative pose, but it is waiting which fish is moving around. The poor fishes, they are thinking this fellow is in meditation, and it just grabs and kills. So like that, devotees also sometimes, maybe, at least I am like that. So we may open one eye and then we may be practicing, we may be in a very meditative pose, but the mind is running somewhere else. The anartha of hypocrisy and cunningness is represented by Bakasura and also Vyomasura. So they both represent the same thing. So this cunningness and hypocrisy. Matlab, khane ke dant alag, dikhane ki alag. Doing something, but showing something. Maybe, in front of the devotees, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, very humble. But when he is gone, stab him in the back. Something like that. Talk ill in the back. Or maybe show that you are practicing in front of everybody, but at home you are not practicing any rules. So like that, this deceitfulness, cunningness and hypocrisy is a big anartha. So that is a stumbling block in bhakti. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur has mentioned, Mathaneda Kopinpara Nakitila Galemala, Eto ek Kalerchela. So it is like, his head is shaved. Mathaneda, Kopinpara, he is wearing a kopin also. And then Nakitila Galemala, he is having tilak and kanti, but he is actually a Kalichela. So that way, we sometimes we go till the extent of, appearing to be completely devotees, but we don't know what is being harbored in the heart. It could be, cunningness, hypocrisy. So that anartha has to be given. So that ends all the demons killed by Krishna and Balaram, ends with Keshi and Vyomasara, and then the Lord goes to Mathura. So These pastimes are good to hear from children's perspective. Krishna kingdom, nice, wonderful. But for us, the same pastimes is not for just, relishing, which is also good, enjoying and relishing how the Lord is powerful and with ease He is killing the demons. But the most important lesson is the anarthas which, the Lord is killing. So like that, these are represented by, so we pray, we humbly seek the blessings of the Lord so that, He can completely remove these anarthas from our heart. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Anybody has any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much. Nice class. You mentioned earlier that about homosexuality. Amongst the current youth generation, I've heard, my daughter is in that age group, so they think that it is okay to be straight or homosexual or bisexual, all that. And once she was trying to preach to her friend, they said, okay, does ISKCON allow for homosexuality and bisexuality? When my daughter said no, she said, okay, I won't come. So how to convince this youth that, okay, that is a disease and not quite normal? And
Okay. Even ISKCON is also divided on this. What can I say? So, anyway, we see what Srila Prabhupada mentioned. Srila Prabhupada's conversations, if you have to read, if you go through the conversations of Srila Prabhupada, you will get an idea that it is completely abnormal. It is not natural. If somebody is lusty, it's okay, it is natural. You are Maya, it's okay. But that is abnormal. So, for us, the authority is the conversations of Srila Prabhupada. You'll find it. If you go to Veda-based folio, you'll get it. So that is our opinion. So what our founder Acharya has told, we will try to follow it. We don't have to do any big research. It is already told by Vaishnava Acharya. What more we want? So they understand. It is very rampant even in jails, in the prisons, because the men are away from their families for a very long time, 3 years, 6 years, 10 years. It's very common in the prisons. It is also common in the military. We don't know, but it is there. Because they are away from their families. So that loneliness kills them, or it is basically abnormal, what do you call, pervertedness. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there is a question from Radharani Mataji. Can you please explain Nabhinandati and Naharsham?
Okay. Yeah, I also got a little confused. Hanti nindati vaidveshti Vaishnavanam na abhinandati means not glorifying the Vaishnavas. Harsha is actually not feeling happiness on seeing them. If there is a genuine reason to glorify them, Vaishnavanam na abhinandati. Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, when you are speaking about demigod worship, at the same time Supreme Lord worship is not recommended, this four-handed Satyanarayana. Satyanarayana is a four-handed form, and people worship him along with Lakshmi. How do we understand this particular ritual, Prabhuji?
Yeah. So if you, next time if you don't take prasadam at the end of Satyanarayana Puja, our life will be destroyed. So, but if you take the prasadam, our life will be destroyed in the sense not bhakti. Our material life will be destroyed. Then, but if you take prasadam, then all opulences will be given. Because that is what, the 5 stories in the Reva Kand of Skanda Purana says. That you will get all opulences, your family will be wonderful, wife will be wonderful, everything will be nice and happy, there will be happiness ever after. Actually, there is no ever after, death is sure, but they will say happiness ever after. So people are afraid. I want to be stable, I want to be happy. What is that third line? Ahani hani bhutani gachanti hai yamalam sheshah sthavaram icchanti. That means permanent happiness here. Actually, that happiness, opulence, which we all get after taking prasadam, is the real binding which will bind us here eternally.
So it is
So
not
that is the answer. So, yes, we are not disrespecting Lord Narayana and Lakshmi. We worship, we do devotional service, what has been taught in the Sampradaya. But that is somehow, it has taken that detour where people do it for material benefit.
So those who practice Krishna consciousness, it is not recommended.
If you want, you can do it. You ask pure bhakti. We can pray, Lord, please take away everything and, please give me bhakti. But people are afraid, because the whole point is that you take prasadam, that you don't lose anything.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. We have sufficient things to do. So, Satyanarayan Puja, yeah, we can maybe. We don't need to do it because we have many more things to do, which is already given to us.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, like I have a question regarding the chanting. Like we in day-to-day life we have many experiences, and we have already Anartha inside. So based on that activities, experiences, when we chant, then that time we are getting many that thoughts. Like mind will be mostly there and very less in chanting nama.
Correct.
So how to overcome this?
Yeah, we all have the problem. Everybody. So, yes, mind is attached to many material situations. We have material association from many lifetimes. So, because of that material association from many lifetimes, we have inclinations also accordingly. We are inclined towards, being comfortable, being wealthy, being happy in a family, being, struggling at a job. That is also, there is some pleasure, in for some to struggle in a job because we want to prove some point that, I am this or that. So like that, we have inclinations. So obviously all these things will occupy the mind. So when we are chanting, these things will come. So when we are more attached to Krishna, these material things which are occupying our mind will reduce. We, by our own endeavor, we cannot do. It is only possible by Krishna's mercy. So the whole chanting exercise is a prayer to the Lord, requesting Him that, my Lord, please allow me to focus my mind on the vibration of your holy name. Please allow me to take shelter of your holy name. So it's a constant process. As His Holiness Gaur Govind Maharaj mentioned, we cry to the Supreme Lord that we are unable to remember Him. So if you are not able to cry, then He says, you cry that we are not able to cry, to remember, like that. So we have to endeavor. It's a constant endeavor. As I said, 15%, 75%, 95%, 100%. It's a long path. But yes, with Tibra Bhakti, one can easily, endeavor to get mercy of Lord, and it is possible.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam.
Krishna.
Prabhuji, you told that the demons that are killed by Balarama ji, they represent some anarthas like Pralamba, Shur. So, like that, you told that we have to endeavor by ourselves to kill that anarthas, to remove that.
Correct.
So, how to, actually, how to struggle for, remove those anarthas, means what we can do in practical sense?
I mean, I don't have any straight answer, but sadhana bhakti and again praying for the mercy of the Lord only. Maybe it is somebody else, maybe Suvarna Gaur Hari Prabhu can answer this question. The question is that Pralambasura killed by Balaram. So it is said that the anartha we have to endeavor. So he's asking, how is that, it is only our endeavor, or is there element of mercy of Lord also in that?
I didn't hear that, but I heard that these are Balaram represents Guru Tattva. So by the mercy of spiritual master, some anarthas like this can be overcome. Pralambasura, I think false pride.
Pralambasura is subtle sex and gross sex.
And Dhenukasura,
Yeah.
proprietorship mentality.
Yeah.
And Dvivida, that also subtle sex. So these things can be overcome by mercy of Guru only, when you submit to him. And when he becomes heavy on us, like Pralamba, he jumped, Pralamba hit on his collarbone.
Yeah.
And he killed him. So and Dvivida also was hit,
Right.
collarbone, and killed. So these anarthas can be overcome when Guru shows mercy by his anger or transcendental heaviness on us.
Okay.
That's what I've heard about it.
Thank you, Prabhu. So I mean, our endeavor is there. If not, by the mercy of Guru, we can overcome it. Yes.
One has to pray to the Guru to get this out. Since I am not able to get this out like that.
Correct. Yes, definitely. So that element of mercy is not lost. It is still there. It is not completely our endeavor. Although I heard that it mentions that we have to endeavor other things. It can be understood in such a way that Krishna